right now. Okay, hello everyone and welcome to the first meetup in the Slovenian Counter-Strike meetup series. We're happy to announce this monthly recurring event, and this is the first time we get together. The point of all of this is to see who in the Slovenian scene is willing to actually come together and make some developments, make progress to elevate the whole scene, to elevate the competitiveness on an international level. So the point is to get together, to talk together, to transfer the knowledge. The point is to get to know each other. And the main point is for these meetings, right? Thank you. And the main point of this meeting is to stay relaxed. Okay, so this is informal chats. Some of us already know each other from before. Some of us are friends, and we welcome additional people. We are not building this for ourselves. We are building this for elevating the scene in Slovenia to the next level. Okay, a brief introduction from my end. So I'm Teo Vodopivec. I'm the founder and CEO of Reveris. This is an esports accelerator that we are putting up in Ljubljana. You'll be hearing more about us throughout the following weeks and months. But today we're not here about us, about me. We are here to talk about the Counter-Strike scene and to devote this 45 minutes to 1 hour to the topic of today, right? And which is, what is the potential of Counter-Strike in Slovenia? So that's the whole point of our conversation today. And before I jump in and introduce the 3 speakers, I would kindly invite all of you to turn the cameras on, those who feel so, because this way it is much more interactive. It is much easier for us, the speakers, to see you, to see the audience, to see your reactions, either positive or negative, it doesn't matter, but we are always keen to be watching at faces instead of just blank screens. So be brave and turn the cameras off. We'll be really happy about it. That said, I'm delighted to have here 3 friends, 3 speakers today from the CSGO CS, my apologies, from the whole Counter-Strike scene, because we have all levels of veterans, right? On one end, we have Domen Joker Golja, who's the captain of the Dragons Esport CSGO team right now. He's there. On my screen, he's down there. I don't know where he's on your screen, but yeah, Domen Joker.
Yo.
Then we have the middleman, right? Also on my screen, the middleman. It's Teo OverSiard, right? He's a streamer, he's a host, he's a CSGO commentator. He's one of the few people that actually make a living out of this in Slovenia, right? So, whoa, big expectations there.
The only one, I guess.
Ooh, let's blow the trumpet, right?
From CS, almost certainly, I think.
It's almost certainly, exactly, yeah. And then we have Gregor eGze Fartek. He's a really good colleague of mine. He's a CS veteran. He was one of the first active players in the first round. So we're talking about 15 years ago, when team MIA or MIA, you correct me if I pronounce it wrong, okay?
MIA,
team MIA, right, was a thing here between 2000 2010 were the golden years. But on top of being an active member in that team, Gregor also established his own team. It was the name named Shadow Warriors. Yeah, that's it. Back then. That said, now we know the speakers, and we just heard who they are. I would invite you to tell a little bit about yourself. So maybe we can start with you, Over.
Ah, shit, put me on the spot immediately. Okay. So hey everybody, as Tom already said, my name's Teo. I'm from Ljubljana. I'm 27. I commentate CSGO, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, for a living as a professional commentator. I've been doing it since 2017. Been involved in esports since 2011, back in the day with StarCraft to begin, and You can see amongst the participants, even one of my colleagues, a good friend of mine as well, Trich. So I'm just gonna give you a quick shout out, hey buddy. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, it's an ongoing process, and I'm literally living the dream, I can say, for myself at least.
Thank you, thank you. Joker, on your end.
Yo, hello, I'm Domen. My nickname is Joker. I came from small village near the Socha River, Doblar. No one knows. Where's this?
I know.
Oh, you know. Okay, that's nice. At least one. Probably two here. No. So at the moment, I play for Dragons Esport. Like this is a fresh new team. We're playing now for 3 months, and we practice to be #1 in Slovenia. I don't know. That's
how far are you? How far are you from #1?
From #1, at the moment we are probably top 3 teams in Slovenia.
That's also brave.
Yeah, but we're gonna be #1 for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Good prospect. Thanks. Thanks. Gregor, on your end.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Execute. I'm also gonna shout out to Trash. We played quite some time together, some fun times back in the days. Actually, yeah, I started my CS:GO career, but I think it's maybe even past millennia. Not even sure. Like I don't know. Counter-Strike is over 20 years old. I'm 31, and I played it since a little kid. And I still like occasionally do grab the mouse and like go shoot some bots in the head, but that's about it these days. But back in the day, I was fully into it. And yeah, like I created my own team back in the day, like also with Stretch was in, and like a couple of other guys. It was really an ambitious project back in the day, because like I was even young. Even if I look at it back in the day, like I don't know where I had the courage, or like just imagine myself running a team, and then I just did it, right? And then yeah, once that project finished, I joined the MIA organization. We all called it MIA, I think. It's like
It's just you. It's just you who mispronounced.
Like
No, Mia is the
Swedish
homegrown
always
name
said
that you
Mia.
pronounce it with, right? But professionally, it should be MIA, right?
Yeah,
It's
it
missing
should
in
be, right?
action.
But we
It
really-
means missing in action, yeah.
Yes.
yeah, missing
They were
in
not
action.
professionals back then, you know. They were kiddos.
Yeah, and like I think the name from that work was actually because like there were older guys playing in the team, and that's why they were called missing in action, because like they didn't practice. Like when on LANs we missed some of the games and stuff like that. So that's where this came from, I believe. And yeah, like there I also spent like a couple of great years, some nice tournaments. It was really fun at the time seeing the scene evolve. But yeah, like then I think I personally ended up playing when we had when Source came out, and then the whole scene kind of like split into two, and like Slovenia is small already, right? Then it kind of like it was slowly dying a bit, and then I just like I started high school.
You grew old.
Yeah. And, like exams and all that stuff, and kind of slowly stopped playing. And yeah, this is where my professional career, so to say, ended, right? But like
when I'm older than you, Gregor, and I started when you stopped. I started with Source.
Nice.
Probably half of the audience hates me now, but whatever.
Where's 1.6?
Yeah, I know. I didn't play it back then.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. Thanks for the intro. All three of you. So I will go into the first question, but before that, so that we know about our audience. Okay, I see quite some of known names, but I'm already really happy to see quite some unknown names, new to me. So to have a feeling of what our audience is knowledgeable about, I'm opening a pool here. Okay, I think all of you should see the pool. And yep. It's two questions. Since when you've been following Counter-Strike? Exactly what Gregor and Joker Domen now went through. And the second question is, how would you describe yourself? While we are getting the pool open, I will continue directly with the first conversation, okay, for the three speakers. So we are establishing a Counter-Strike meetup group. We are going to be talking about Counter-Strike, right? So the first question is, why should we even talk about Counter-Strike? This is a game that's already 20 years old, right? You could say it has survived many generations, many seasons, right? And it still seems to be holding, right? It's holding, it's still growing. It's one of the biggest games in terms of prize money, right? It's one of the top watched games still, right? But in reality, how long will this persist? Do you feel that this is gonna last? What are your thoughts on this? So maybe we can start with Domen. So let's not start always with the same one, and then we continue.
Okay. So, what should I say? Fuck. A second.
Should I help you?
I'm serious.
That's a solid start.
That's a solid start.
Yeah. Can you ask me again, please?
How do you feel the CS field will evolve? Is it a game that's still worth talking about, or is it a limited thing?
It's not a limited thing for sure. It's a game which we're talking about like now for 20 years, and we'll talk about it like next 100 years probably, because never dies. CS never dies.
Why? Why do you think it never dies?
Probably because it's the only one FPS shooter, good game. I mean, this is a hard.
It's not the only shooter, and it's not the only good shooter, but it's the best shooter.
Yeah, it's the best shooter. Exactly, it's the best shooter. But I don't know why it's not dying. I don't know.
I'll help you pick up that point. I'll be pretty straightforward. I mean, from 2012 when Go came out, so Global Offensive, not 1.6 or Source or something. The game wasn't actually picking up. I don't know how much you remember from back then, but if you recall, back in 2012 when Go was released, it was actually worse than it was with Source and with 1.6. So most tournaments were still going on with 1.6. Most tournaments were still going on in Source. Most organizers and players were still playing the older versions. But the reason why Go really stick to the floor or to the whatever ceiling was because when the updates rolled out in 2013, I think, with the first skin update, with the massive rehauls of the whole game, of hitboxes, of everything actually being revamped, sounds and everything being made anew, that's when actually people start to notice, okay, this game is actually better than Source. It's an improvement of Source. It's a potential baby of 1.6, aka like a potential successor of 1.6, and from that point forward it just kept on growing. Source died out, 1.6 started to die out. Fun fact, I'll end the point here, 1.6 still has tournaments going on, but they've slowly started to go out of fashion now. So for comparison, how long 1.6 has stuck around. So it's and that's why I think it's never going to die, because up to this point, I have yet to see a game that would be able to contend against the quality and realism that CSGO offers, or CS in general offers, when it comes to a shooter game.
Yeah, and like to add to all this, like CS is the most fun game to watch, if you ask me. I still like to watch it. Even now, I don't play. Like whenever there are majors, I'll just stream it. I'll watch the streams. I'll watch, and like even these days, I'm out of all the tactics and the meta game and all that, and it's fun to watch. Just to watch, right?
But Rainbow Six also has tactics and meta game, right?
Yeah, every game has tactics.
Yeah. Of course, but like,
I'm ready for an argument, but I'll let you finish, eGze.
I mean, yeah, like I think it's the most fun to watch. It's never been more competitive than it is now. Like the number of top tier teams that you have at this point, I don't think you ever had this in any point of any CS. It's also like not that easy to just become CS pro, right? You have to put in a lot of work, and I think it's the same with all the games. But still, like you need a team, you need good teammates, you need chemistry, you need tactics, you need all that to really be successful in CS, right? So, but it's never been more competitive than it is today. It's evolving, and I think like even if we look at it from like history point of view, right? In CS 1.6 or so, right? Once the game was kind of getting saturated and all that, like the new maps came out, right? And that totally changed the scene. And like we haven't seen this with CSGO yet. Like we have the regular map rotations that were there for like from the beginning, basically, right? And like there are no new maps that are coming out. And once those new maps come out, this will totally again re-change the whole scene, revamp the game, and put it to another level, I assume, right? The skins also, like they added additional, if nothing else, economic weight to it, right? I don't also think it's going anywhere anytime soon, at least. So yeah.
Okay. Three nice biased arguments. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'll add on eGze's position. I agree with what he said. Basically, with the economical background, Valve is basically they want to make sure that this game stays on top and it grows as much as it can because they're earning big bucks from it, right? That's the first thing that really puts CS:GO also on their like on the platform of everybody else, kind of going in, chiming in. But I think the point that we have to bring out here, the biggest point of all, is the fact that the scene is so big. It's not just tier 1. It's not just the top teams. It's not the top 12. It's the top 100 teams that are participating in daily tournaments, in smaller tournaments, in teams that are playing on weekly Face It, ESL, back in the day, ESL Cups. You know, you've got DreamHack, you've got Face It, you've got, what else? It's so many other, I mean, there's so many teams, so many organizers that are currently participating. And the reason why CSGO, in my opinion, is not going to die is because the scene itself has evolved and it's not being trampled. For example, if you compare to League of Legends, LOL, where Riot literally said, everybody who's organizing tournaments, you're either going to do it like we say, by our rules, by our standards, by this set of pieces, and nothing else is allowed. And that's what killed the scene. That's what killed the game. Same happened to Overwatch. I think still has it, but you know, Overwatch generally died because it's just not a fun game. But let's leave that to another conversation. But to finish what I started, basically, I think the reason why it's so popular today is because there's not only tier 1 teams. You've got tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, and I gotta be honest, I haven't watched tier 1 games in a little while because I have my own schedule so jam-packed, and after 8 hours per day of CS, you watch tier 2, tier 3 CS every day. I've had enough of that so much. I've watched so much CS that, you know, I only choose a few games per week or per month of tier 1 that I actually want to enjoy, the teams that I love to watch, and that's it. Or I go over the demos or the replays or whatever.
Okay. So to recap a little bit, we have okay, the scene is vibrant today. We've seen that the community is competitive as it was never before. Now let's say the only argument that sticks with me, I would say, I'm a little bit more critical, is that the developers are still putting a lot of effort in the game and in the community itself, right? With the patches, with the updates, and there are also, I think there is also a good strategy how to keep the old communities from the 1.6, right, and source alive, or slowly transfer them over to the new versions. And exactly the development of the CSGO is proof of that, right? It was bad when it came out. It was bad, you know.
To this point, maybe it was something we forgot. I would just also add, like, Valve is changing CS, right, on the fly sometimes, right, with the meta and all that. Because back in the days with CS 1.6, I remember like nobody used anything else but AKs and eGze. And nowadays you have actually, like they evolved the game that much that you can actually use other weapons and be effective with them. You can have one pistol round, right? Back in the days, all right, yeah, you could have one eGze, but that was it. And nobody used anything else besides M4s, AKs, and eGze, right? And that was it. And that was what you would operate, right? And nowadays, this range, like you also have additional grenades, the mollies, and that's good. Of course, like one change comes and like all the teams that are used to it, they kind of like bitch about it around for a few minutes, a few like months. Oh, why did you?
It's good. Yeah.
But essentially, they all have to adapt. Otherwise, they'll just something will overrun them, right? I
agree. Okay, good. We got the warm up here. Thank you, Domen, for all the insight. Yeah. sorry.
No.
To kid a little bit.
Come on.
So now I have to. I'm nasty. You know?
No problem.
just to see, here is the results of the pool, so that we see who are we talking with. Okay, so given that the audience is quite mixed, I would say a third. We have how many? 17 results in the pool. Approximately half are knowledgeable of the last two, and half are long-term veterans in terms of how long have they been following the CS game or scene, right? And the second one, what describes you best? Hello. Everyone who's a fan is also a player. That's what I see. And there is a couple of streamer organizers, coach. Okay, I see one here and or two. That's cool. We know who we're talking with. Yeah, good.
That pool is quite small, so it's probably easy to discern. Okay, these guys.
These guys, yeah, we can see. It's 17 people. It's fine. Yeah, it's good. Okay, stop sharing. Okay, so the next question is, what also led to this meetup and this conversation? Whoever you are talking with in Slovenia here, everybody says, dude, we have tons of potential and we are just not taking advantage of that potential, right? And now we're talking about CSGO in this case, right? Now the question is what potential? I always hear about this potential a lot, you know. Also Domen, you said, yeah, you are top 3, you're gonna be top 1. Great. Why were not you top 1 a month ago or a year ago, you know, in this kind of sense, right? Why is there not 10 times more the competition you have, you know? So the question is, why also why in terms of what is this potential? Okay, so how do we know there is potential if we don't see it? No, maybe in this case, you are most entangled with the wider community. Maybe you can start and tell, how do we even know that there is potential? No.
I'd actually like to first hear it from Domen, or from Joker. Actually, I want to hear his input, because he, if nothing else, he's a little bit more locally attuned to it, and I just want to hear his input. But I'll share. You know me, I have a lot to say about this, so you know I can take up the whole
final word.
+4.
The final word, yeah. Okay, yeah. So okay, this time, sorry, Domen, to put in the spot again, but you are leading a team, right? You are leading a team, and you are training to be the best in the country, right? And we are saying there is potential, but we are not yet capable of showing it, and internationally we're not achieving it. So how do we know where is this potential hiding?
Okay, there's not teams in Slovenia who are playing for real. There are only puck players, so players who are playing like Faceit or something. They're very good aimers, very good players, of course, but they don't have team. There is not team. I mean, they can put together 5 people who are gonna play like every day and practice together to do something together, because they're actually solo players. One is pushing, one kill them all, and that's it. And that's how you won a puck game. So we decided to practice together, and it's totally different gameplay, like on matchmaking or Faceit. It's kind of next level. So I didn't even know how different it is, but now I can see when we play versus other teams, I can see there's a big hole between these two kinds of players.
I remember. Thank you. I remember with Gregor, with the eGze, we played like a year ago, the casual one, right? And this was the first time in his life that he played the casual one, the first time. After 15 years, the first time. Gregor, what would you add to this? So you can maybe compare a little bit with the feeling that was back then when you were starting this up.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not in the scene that much to know what is the potential. I just know I can talk in general, and like I know that Slovenians are very, very stubborn and very good at sports, and like just given that, like we can do great things. And like Domen said, like there's different game aspects playing casual, playing Faceit, than playing in a team. That's why I would like encourage everyone who's thinking about playing CS, just find a team and go find some tournaments and play those, right? Like when I started my team, we immediately joined the ESL. The clan base was still there, right? And we had official matches just because, and we were getting trashed. Like we were getting raped on the server. We were trashed. But this is what you see. Like this is how you'll get real experience. You'll see that
Sounds about right.
yeah. Like it's not good that you just you'll create a team and then you'll go into CS and join a lobby and then go matchmaking. It doesn't make sense.
Nope.
You have to play against the teams and you have to go create a team and just go and play real teams for real tournaments and just gain experience. Because playing
Everyone has to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not saying you downloaded Counter-Strike and now you're gonna go. Like you need to put in the hours, right? But once you start thinking of playing it for real, once you've done like a fair share of matchmaking, then once you're that serious that you're within a team, that you're in a team, then you should go play as much tournaments, as many official matches as you can, because only that way this is the only way you're gonna get exposed to the real CS.
Sorry.
Go
for it. So
No.
I want to pick up the point here from both eGze and Joker. So to start off the point with the potential in Slovenia and the potential of teams, players, whatever, when we go down to the individual level, there was a lot of potential. There still is a lot of potential in some players in Slovenia. Now, from what I've seen in the last, let's say, 5 years since I've been actively involved in playing myself as well, equally so, most of these players, like Joker said, yeah, they have the aim. Even then, that aim only gets you to a certain point. That's when you have to start developing the game sense, the game understanding, your own intuition. And then it comes team play. Then it comes communication. Like there are so many factors just to a single individual person that getting all those factors into a single person, making sure they're all going to be to a certain point enough, and then building a team out of 5 people. So that means it's not just one individual with, let's say, four aspects that he needs to have fulfilled. That's 5 people with each having 4 aspects that they need to have in order to do anything. And that's the beautiful thing about CS, is as good as you might be, you're going to be only as good as your weakest player, or at least your 2 weakest players. You can't really be, this is not a solo game. This is the one problem I think that is the predominant in Slovenia, especially because our mentality is already built upon, individualism is best. Individual play is what's going to get you forward. Yeah, it's going to get you to a certain point, but then it's going to stop. And like Joker said, when they started cracking against actual teams, that's when the real fun begins. And trust me when I say, when you start cracking against actual teams and you start getting your ass beat like there's no tomorrow, you start realizing, okay, this is the first time actually stepping into the shoes of what is the journey of becoming even a team. And then it takes a half a year, maybe a year, depending on how good you are, depending how committed you are. And from my own experience, I can say I've built so many teams, I've relinquished so many teams, I've left so many teams due to people not being serious. I mean, let's say I invest 6 months of work into 4 people, including I usually IGL. As an IGL, I teach people, I help people understand the game better. I create the tactics. I discuss. I go through replays. I do reviews. Whatever. There's so much work in it. I could go on for days, but to kind of shorten it a little bit, basically, if you work for 6 months with 4 people, that let's say 5 people in total, right? Let's say I'm a coach. 5 people. You invest 6 months into them, and after 6 months, you realize that, if it takes you 6 months, that's bad. Let's say 3 months to be fair. You got a good amount of skill on the 5 players. You get to your first actual tournament. Let's say it's a decent enough of a tournament. You get there and you get wrecked by a completely random team. What happens in 99% of the times with those teams is after that tournament, they're like, oh, F this, I'm done. You guys are bad. This is bad. I'm not playing. I'm quitting. And bam, the team is gone. End of story. That's where the story ends. That's where 99% of Slovenian teams end up being, is the first time they meet somebody, some real opposition, they quit. They end playing together, and that's all the work you've invested up to that point gone, and you might as well start over, or you are starting over anyway. So Joker said they're pracking against better teams. That's where it actually starts. Also, the time invested. Keep in mind that you're not going to be playing tournaments most of the time. You're going to be playing a league once per week. So that's, let's say, a best of 1 or a best of 3, depending on the league, once per week, maybe once per 2 weeks. Then you're going to be playing perhaps a few weekly, monthly tournaments that you maybe can get in that are worth playing. But for the 99% of the time, you're playing pracs. You're playing on. I have private Facebook groups. I have private, groups where I search for practice as such and such, and you play that, let's say, 4 to 5 hours per day with the team. So that means up to 3 to 4 series or maps per day you play with the team to practice, and that's not enough. You still have to invest 2 to 3 hours individually. So that means you have to individually practice either DM, either KZ, either bunny hop. So what does this means? KZ is basically movements and jumping and maneuvering around the map. It's a very difficult, basically movement map-based scenario where you have to reach the top in a certain time limit or whatever you put yourself onto, and you practice that by moving better and basically practicing movement. Then you have bunny hop movements, you have aim maps, whatever.
I will stop you there a little bit because you gave me some good inspiration for the next question, actually, because we are kind of transgressing in the question. It's cool. It's great, right? So the question is, do we see potential? We kind of feel there is potential, and we are kind of, I see this frustration, right? That there is potential, but that people are not taking advantage of it, right? And the question is then why? Why not taking advantage? We see now, you listed a lot of reasons, all of you, right? Why? I mean, people are not persistent, right? Individualism as a part of our culture, right? Not being serious enough. Maybe people don't want to be serious, right? Maybe they just play until it's fun, and then they hit a wall and it hurts them too bad, and then they don't play anymore, So maybe that's part of the.
If I can start here, right? As I found my first team, and we were all really young at the time, right? So what happens is that, first, in order to get over this, right, you will need infrastructure, some sort of. I'm not sure how to put this term in esports, right? But you would need some system, right? Because I remember back in my team, right? We were a bunch of young guys playing CS. It was fun, right? But as soon as you get serious, right? Then problems arise, right? As OverSiard, right? You practice for 3 months, and then, I don't know, bam, one of your teammates has this, what is it called in English? Popravni speed. His power supply cable was stuck by his parents. He can't play for next 2 months. What are you gonna do, right? I'm making assumptions. I'm drawing a picture here, but there will be problems that will happen, and you'll have, if you don't have a commitment, right? Or that and it's to be to put it straight, to find 5 guys that are gonna be there every single day from, let's say, I don't know, 6 p.m.
6 days a week. 6 days a week. That's the minimum.
From 6 p.m. to, let's say, 11 p.m. to do pracs, to not play CS for fun. We're now talking about serious shit, right? Because I went through this, and this means that the 5 guys get on the server and they're just throwing grenades for 1 hour.
Yeah, throwing smokes, to be more specific. Practicing flashbangs.
Yeah, then they're moving together, rehearsing the tactics and all that. That's not fun, right? It's fun to get in the lobby, play matchmaking once you're that good, but doing the pracs, that's not good. And to add to Joker's point, right? Potential and all that, and you have good players. In my case, and I'm still the same opinion. In my team, I remember back in the days, I can't remember what their nicknames was, but I remember that I got 2 hot shots in the team once in time, some really skillful guys. They could play for the top team or top 2nd team in Slovenia, but they just didn't want to adjust to the system, do the practice.
Invest the time, yeah.
No, but then also maybe the mentality. They just thought, look, I got the aim. Why am I gonna throw smokes, right? Fuck this. And I personally, I vouched. I said, I voted. I don't want these guys. I want 5. I would rather have 5 lower skilled players that will do the work, that will be there on the server, and work with them, instead of having one superstar that just if he has a good day, yeah, maybe he can kill all 5 of the opponents, right? But if the day's not good.
if I can pick up your point here, it's not even about the superstar. There's no superstar here. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There are no superstars. Nobody's a superstar. There are some people that have latent talent that they can build upon. They've, you know, invested since they were, let's say, 11 years old. They've been playing video games, shooters specifically. They're going to have great aim off the bat, great mechanics. You know, they're going to be still lacking maybe in movement and such, but they need to be molded. They need to be taught by somebody who knows how to play the game and to teach them to critically think about the game. And this is where I also pick up the point of eGze's, where he said basically, will they invest the time and will they have the mentality in order to play in a team? Because the reason why I've had so many teams and left so many teams or otherwise quit them or kick people off the teams is because if you're not willing to change, if you're not listening to input, well, then don't expect output, right? That's it. That's the whole beautiful thing about it. You cannot expect to be better if you've never even been taught that you can be better, right? Most people think, oh, I'm a great aimer. That's all I need. I'm going to run around and shoot headshots. Well, yeah, until you meet somebody that knows how to play, then you're maybe going to get 2 headshots in, and that's the end of the story for you.
And like even like,
I would just take over a little bit here. Joker, he's now leading the team, and he's been through this process, right, Domen, of swapping one team for the other and swapping a couple of team members to keep the team engaged and actually together and keep moving forward, right? What was your experience through this process, right? Okay, we are now discussing that one gist of why we are not there is because the let's say the maturity or the mentality of the people involved, right? But this is, this might be a thing that it's not for the individual people to solve. This might be for some organization or some coach to solve, right? Joker, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I also was in like 3 teams, I think, for now, but it's hard to make a team alive or to stay team alive because people broke up. They have different opinions about gameplay, about progress, and it's really hard to make team good. I mean, not good.
Work well together.
Yeah, exactly. We also had team, and we had disagreements, and 2 players left. Of course, I mean, they were kicked, but they left. Okay. And then we made another team, and now we're playing for 3 months. We also had a lot of disagreements. We also almost break up, but we keep it together. And I mean,
why?
Because
oh, dude, there's so many reasons. There's no point even going in why.
Exactly. You're practicing something for 1 month, and then you go to tournament, and this shit is not working, and then it just boom, I'm not playing anymore.
I feel that so much.
Yeah.
I feel that so much.
Yeah.
So many people that just no. The biggest problem I find personally from my experience of teams and players is you practice something, you've gone over it through the offline server, let's say 100 times, you've gone through it through pugs, you've gone through it through pracs, you've gone through it through everything. And then you get onto the actual game and they start making mistakes. They start making stupid mistakes. They start playing the way they haven't played up to this point. And I could chalk it up to maybe being a little bit nervous, to having the jitters, right? That's something that does happen. You have to consider that everybody's unique. Everybody has a bad day, an off day, a good day. You can't affect that. I mean, you can't try to affect it with a coach, but that doesn't work in our situation. There's no organization that's going to cover the cost of a coach. You can cover it with maybe an IGL like myself, who always tries to build their players' mental fortitude, I like to say. Even in professional games, I noticed that when you start losing, it's the most important part in the time of an IGL or the team captain to take the break, to stop and take a timeout in the game and start talking to your players, discussing, are you good? Let's focus. Let's leave those rounds behind. We got this. That kind of mentality.
If I might elevate the point here, and this is, I will pick on this one. No one is ever gonna pay a coach here, right? So that's what we are talking about here, right? We need to build a case, right, that the coach is reasonable, right? Because otherwise, if one coach can be paid for the whole of Slovenia, then Slovenia has no potential, right?
I would argue here, if I can argue this point, quite simple argument. It is no team is worth investing in unless they themselves have already done something, and that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. If you, as a team, is unable to get anywhere, so that means, let's say there's an open ESL tournament, let's say Classic ESL Open, you go there, you get through it. Awesome, super. You get to the next stage. You get to the, I believe it is intermediate, or it could be whatever. Like, you get to the next stage. So that's the starting point. But every team has to start from zero, and they have to get somewhere by themselves. If you expect to get money or help or anything else by anybody else in CS:GO, you can forget about it right now and stop playing right now, because if you yourself are not willing to invest time, money, and basically just everything you have into this, stop playing.
I understand, but we were just saying, okay, on the individual level, players don't have the mindset yet, so somebody needs to teach them. Okay, I'm now recapping a little bit the problems. Just give me, please. So it won't happen by itself. We're here to discuss what can be done, let's say, from this group of people. Or let's say that, even imagine that I have €1 million, okay? What should I do? What should I do now, okay? Because if I have €1 million and I know that it will happen, that I'll get them back in 3 years or in 5 years, I will invest €1 million. So, but tell me what I need to do. So let's try to discuss in this sense, right? Okay, the individual players, we also have some questions in the chat. The individual players don't have the right mindset yet. It's expected. Young people, all kind of interests. It's normal, right? You need some structure, you need some organization, some coaching, something, right? Forming the teams is really difficult, right? It's difficult to find the right people together. Expecting that the teams would form by themselves and persist also seems quite a lucky strike.
Yeah.
Go. And then the question is what to do. What can we do here? Jure asked, right? What needs to happen in Slovenia for someone, some organization, company, what needs to happen that someone will pay a coach, right?
Okay. Can I just give my first input here? Like,
you may.
Maybe returning back to not to the previous question, but like back a bit.
Yeah, Tom allows. Yeah.
Like, with the players and with the teams, right? So first thing is, like, it's going to be hard to find 5 players, but once you do find them, and once you, my suggestion, how I started my team, we started as friends, right? We were friends and we started playing. So that's, if you have that possibility, that's good. Find 5 friends that like CS, build a team and take it from there, because first thing, you know each other personally. If you don't have this team, and like you probably don't have more than 15 good friends, and like maybe not everyone is into CS, right? Then once you find a team, or once you join a team, or you build a team or whatever, and then this is not esports thing. This is a human thing, right? Make boot camps or LAN parties for yourself, like interact and get together in person, get drunk, go out in the club. Like, this is how you're going to build connection. And then next time, once this colleague of yours on the server, right, throws a flash and maybe you won't be so hard on him, or when he baits you, right, and you die. Like, you need to build rapport with this. And once you have that, once you're a friend, once you know each other a bit more and on a deeper level, then you can start building things. Then you can start discussing coach and all that. But first, you need that, right? And this is maybe one of the reasons why Mia was alive for so long, because back in the days, there was Lois the Slack, right? It was his nickname. I think he's Lash McKinda or something. His real name.
Lash McKinda, yeah.
Yeah. So he had a house in Cerknica, and every year, like, he invited the whole Mia team to this house in his garage. We made a boot camp. We were there for like 3 days. Each day we got heavily wasted.
If I may suggest, leave out those parts, because I don't think they're too pertinent to the topic. But like if I may just quickly pick up on your, I think you have a very good point, and absolutely I agree with it. But I would add here the one important distinction of the difference of back then and today. Back then, you couldn't really find new players besides just either playing on a public server and hoping that he's going to be, you know, from Slovenia where you can go for LANs or something, or you knew people that played CS and then you kind of expanded your circle from there. Today you've got, for example, Faceit Lobby or Faceit Hub, or Slovenian Hub. That's one example, right, where people can meet up and play. And then you have obviously official servers, you have matchmaking, you have so many other things that you can, or so many other options you can choose from. Slovenian Facebook group where you can get players from, for example. That's an example, right, where you can pull your resources in. But to bring it up a notch, when you asked what would we need to do in order to enable, or not enable, but get a company or somebody to invest into a team, to, let's say, pay a coach €1,000 a month, so he would coach the team 8 hours a day, or let's say 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day, whatever, however long it would need to be, in order to get them somewhere. Well, what first has to happen is, like we said at the beginning, a team has to be formed that is worthy of investing. And that means those players that are playing have to already individually be mentally understanding enough of their own desires, of their own wants and wishes, and understanding what this means for their life. Because if you want to be a pro player, I'll tell you now, you have to give up everything you have, forget about your social life, forget about your party life, forget about, I mean, okay, party life, sure, maybe.
Let's just
forget about school. You have to put it in, and you have to do.
You are not persuading me, right? But
no,
yeah,
no,
good.
No.
Yeah, but
sorry,
it's good.
I
the
get
thing
emotional about that.
Yeah, no. So, but I'm trying to understand, because I kind of disagree with you. Know, I have $1 million in my hand, and I just need to wait for it to happen. And there is a team out there. I don't think so. I think I can do something with that money. Otherwise, this means that Slovenia has no potential, because it's obviously not happening. I think there are other reasons. There are other reasons why they're not happening. Okay, let's just hold my thought there. Yeah. I got an ask from the audience, so please, Trejach, how do I pronounce? Sorry, go ahead. And he asked for permission to speak. You know, so I give permission to speak, of course.
Hey, thanks. I hope you hear me all right.
Yeah, great.
First, hi to eGze and Over, of course. Nice to see you again. I mean, I see Over a lot, but Gregor I didn't see for some time. So I'll be short. I just want to say a few things. I mostly agree with everything said from the three speakers that we have. I also commend what Over and Joker are doing. I think both of them are actively doing a good thing for the scene. Well, there's one true fact that I want to talk about that is from my experience, and I think eGze and Over somehow can share that as well. The thing is that Slovenia has a small number of players relative to other countries. That's always was and will be the problem. Germany, maybe we have like 10 serious players, but Germany has what, 8 times that at the very least?
Germany has about 100 players just in the top 3
so
to 4 tiers.
That makes it hard for a only Slovenian team to succeed on the international scene. Now, players, sure, but teams, it's much harder. Like, for example, Bosnia and Serbia have a few top-tier players, like from on the very best teams, like Nico and so on, right? But they don't have top-tier teams as well.
Nope. We don't even have a team that can contend on a regional level.
Yeah, but they have very good players. Now, what I always saw as a good goal to start or something like that, the starting point is that the more active team scene in Slovenia would mean more interesting tournaments with rivalries and storylines, and the competitiveness will come naturally, improving the player pool and chances for the international breakthrough. Yep. In the old days, we had a lot of same teams that participated, I mean, same organizations like MIA, and there are like Digital Instinct, Geeks, Insane Evolution, or a dozen other teams in the old CS I'm talking about. And those teams, they did change players, of course, but there was always this rivalry happening. And maybe if you have a pool of competitive players that try to strive, like Joker said, to be the best in the country, then you can maybe, if you have $1 million, like Tom said, you can say, okay, I found those 3 very good, and those 2, I think they will mesh, and maybe eGze can be a coach, and you can then.
He will be a coach for free. That's fine. We don't need $1 million.
But there's just one more thing I want to say. You all were praising Counter-Strike, which is a great game. That's my first game that I started with as well. But there's a bad fact related to the game. There are two things in my opinion. First thing is the coach bug, the kind that shook the scene. Coaches were able to, I don't know, maybe Or will.
It's gone now. It's gone now.
Yeah, I know, but it did taint a bit. And there's the other thing, the match fixing, which I somehow feel it's present more than we would like.
Oh yeah.
Betting companies have interest since it's so popular and to play and to bet on Counter-Strike, which brings us back to match fixing because it's easier to do in esports. And I've heard many people say, don't bet on Russians, don't bet on CSI scene, so that Eastern League or Chinese League, because it's match fixed. And that kind of taints the whole picture of Counter-Strike potential internationally. I'm not speaking about Slovenia. And I mean, that's something that I wanted to say because it was not, nobody said it, but I agree with it.
I intentionally avoided the topic just because I know it's quite a hot topic. But yeah, I agree here with Tomo about it. Yeah.
But like just to make one thing clear, like as soon as like you have a sport that it's really popular, you're gonna have match fixing, you're gonna have scandals, you're gonna have all of that.
Thanks, Rich.
I suggest we leave this topic alone because we could talk for like too long, and I just we just leave the topic alone because I personally could tell you so many things from the back scenes.
We're not here. Look, if you like, sorry, Gregor. If you like the game, you should accept what it comes with, right? So right.
To add to Trash's point, right? Of course, you will like. Let's say you first have one great team in Slovenia, right? That's good. And like I assume it always starts starts right there, right? You need to have one great team, and then you'll have younger generations that will want to beat that team, and this is how you're gonna beat the scene, right? Back in my day, there was this team called Golden Section, and then it was Insane Evolution. Everyone, like Insane Evolution, were the top dogs. Like nobody could beat them in Slovenia, and like people, like we teams were gathering, like. They were building up. They wanted to beat those guys, right? And this is how the scene came about, right? Like you need to have first one good team, and like, but once, as Trash said, like once you have the scene, you also have a bigger pool of players. You have, and then you can mix the players, and you can get maybe one or two great teams out of it, right? But you need the scene. That's for sure. Like even. It's in all sports like that, right?
Yeah, but does the scene happen by itself, or there are ways how to catalyze, how to make it better, That's why I will spin the topic a little bit, but before that, I think Živa wanted to say something.
Yeah, on the topic of like mentality and everything that has to change, like in Slovenia for not just CS:GO, but in general esports to get on a higher level. It's just that I think from like when I listen around ever since I got into esports and stuff, it's always this stigma surrounding like video games still until this day. Like, oh, they're useless. They're like causing violence. They're, I don't know, whatever. You can't get paid from it, for example, is one thing. Like go outside rather than look at a screen, stuff like that. And I think that in Slovenia, this is still a bit more present than in the other countries. So it's also just, even, for example, let's say there's a kid who wants to become a professional player and their parents are like, no, go outside and play. Don't do that. That's bad for you. So I think
watch a movie.
I think that's also like a part that needs to change, is just our mentality and the way we view video games in general so that esports can be elevated.
Okay. Thank you, Živa. Yeah, it's I think, like Športna zveza Slovenia, right? Sports Federation of Slovenia is an entity that is moving in this direction. Also, the overall initiatives that are educational of games, responsible gaming, right? Games for senior people or bringing games together. All this, I think, will improve and change the mentality. I think it will get better with time. That's a fact. Now you can change a whole culture. sorry, before I allow you to continue, I would ask Domen a little bit. So we were talking, going back one point, right? So if we had an investor, right? Because this is the point, right? What would you need to make your team not top one in Slovenia? What would you need to form a team, right, that can be competitive on a worldwide level, right? On top of what you have, and what can you promise me? Why would you be able to achieve that?
Okay. So the reason is, at the moment, we have 5 people who are willing to work for free, and they hope and they work to get better. So they're spending their free time, like some have to some have to work, some have school, but they're still playing like 5 to 6 hours per day. And
I know,
yeah,
but what do you need? I'm asking. I have the money. What do you need?
What do we need? First of all, we need to do something alone. So we have to show something. I mean, like, if you suck now, we sorry.
It's cool.
We need to show something on some tournaments first of all. If we are 10 in Slovenia, that's not good. You have to be, yeah, that's terrible.
Bad.
That's terrible.
Even
Yeah.
being first in Slovenia is not good.
Exactly,
So let's be
exactly.
honest about
When
this.
you're first in Slovenia, you're last one in the world. You have so many good players out there. If you go to Germany, like we said before, like we are comparing Germany to Slovenia, you have some very, very strong leagues in Germany, which we cannot compare to.
But look, let's stick to the point. I'm asking you, what should I do? I have the money.
I'll tell you what you do, right? You build some sort of a system, right? You put players under the contract just so that there's a commitment from their end as well, that you have some sort of like insurance, maybe, right?
If you put someone to contract, that's not even good. I mean, they have to play, but they might not want to play.
Exactly.
So it's a big difference.
This is where I'm gonna take both arguments of Gregor and Joker together, and I'm gonna mold into what you actually have to do. So if you've got money to invest into an esports team, that's a completely different topic than an esports team. Investing into a team and actually getting a team to work are two different things.
Exactly, and that's what I will ask you differently, because we are a little bit misaligned on the point. I'm saying I don't want to invest in a team. I have the money, hypothetically, right, to make the Slovenia impactful in the world. What should I do is the question. I'm not asking in which team should I invest, right?
Realistically, I think the best course of action is creating, first of all, a national league based on top of supported from the government. That means you get schools, you get colleges, universities, you get universal tournaments that most people will get to see. So you first have to broaden the view of the game. You have to broaden the view of esports in Slovenia. That's the first part you have to do. Second part is you have to make let's say a half-a-year league or a 3 months league where you force, not necessarily force, but you get teams from universities, teams from gymnasiums or high schools or whatever to play. That's the biggest thing you can do in order to get the biggest pool of potential candidates. And from that league, you then start to pick your people out. Let's say you've got 100 players. Out of 100 players, realistically, there will be maybe 10 people or maybe 5 people that will be worth even looking into for further instruction. And when you get those 5 people, then you put them up against the region. You have to first get up in the region before you can even compete on a national or on a world scale. Let's say, for example, I saw in chat, somebody asked, why are Slovenian servers empty and why are Serbian servers in CS full? Well, the first thing is, please keep in mind, there's 4 teams in Serbia, 2 of which are probably considered amongst the top. They have 3 players that are currently playing at the top level of CS: Maden, Nico, Hunter, Nexa, and I could keep on going. Those are players that are currently playing in the top of the scene, the creme de la creme, sort of to speak. And that means automatically the awareness of esports in Serbia already rises. Also, I commentated and participated when I was down in Belgrade working with eFrag. They were organizing league tournaments for students, for high schoolers. They had that already implemented. That means that automatically they already have a system that supports the growth and the expansion of esports automatically through government means, which means everybody who's going to university or high school automatically gets, oh, look, there's an esports tournament. Oh, shit, we're playing League of Legends or CS, whatever. Let's sign up, let's play. And that's how you build competition. That's how you build storylines. That's how you build a potential for more. That's the start. Then we get to the tough part. That's where we start the real tough part, and that's the actual team itself. So once you have 5 people, let's say a coach is not even necessary at the start. When you have 5 people, you need, depending on their skill, depending on how much time they've already invested up to this point, how long they've been playing, how much experience they have, you need from anywhere half a year, which is like that half a year is like a top tier team needs a half a year to get themselves accumulated together to get something going. You need, let's say, a minimum of 1 year to get those 5 people on a level to even compete on a regional scale to be consistent. And then after that 1 year, you see, okay, they are able to get on a regional level, or half a year, they can compete on a regional level against Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, Macedonian, Albanian, Bulgarian, Romanian teams. That's where you start. And if they're able to, after a half a year or year, compete there, you have, okay, we have potential there. And that's how you start building. And then you see, okay, this player, he's weak. We have to eliminate him. We have to find a replacement. Unfortunately, I am of the belief that in Slovenia, you will not be able to find 5 people that can play on the top level scale. Maybe regionally, even regionally, it is questionable. That is currently the state that we are in. Because there's no system that supports the growth or the continuation, like the expansion of esports to create more, or to build more minds in the mentality of a professional esports team. You first need some sort of a system that already creates that little bit of a spark. You can't start 5 steps ahead. You have to start at the first step and go step by step before you can get anywhere.
I agree. I agree on that. Go.
Yeah, but you said you have to evolve the scene, like to. I mean, you said you have to wait with it.
Get a league, national league. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the government needs to support this and this. But you're talking about esports. You have to talk about CS. At CS, it's about different. The terrorists are shooting counter-terrorists, and the government will never support that.
I disagree with that. I fully disagree with that.
Yeah, but in Slovenia, hard to.
No, I disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, Serbia's working out fine. Bosnia's working out. Croatia's working out. Croatia has one of the biggest leagues for their own national stuff. I mean, eGze League is not only Croatian, but the whole thing is working. And it's supported by the government. It's supported by their system. It's about how you present it and who is doing it. If the right people do this job properly, it will work. And also, I agree with you saying we don't need, like, it's not necessary to have the basis of a system of a government support and national league to have 5 players that can play on a regional scale. But it makes it easier to find people that are even capable of playing on that scale or above. And if you do not have that, it's twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as hard in order to get a team that is worthwhile investing. And that's where I'm coming from, because you gotta consider this like a very simple system of wires. You have 2 wires and you need to connect plus and minus. Now, in order to support that, you need a system behind it. You need some sort of an AC or DC output where it provides electricity, and then you put it somewhere else. And we currently have only one thing. We have the wires. We don't have electricity. We don't have the end output. We don't even have an idea where to actually start properly. And that's the problem. That's why a team is so hard to build, because we're already starting. Like, imagine you have Legos and you have the big Legos, the children Legos. Now try to build something out of that. I mean, you can try, it's going to be super hard and it's going to take you longer if you'd had just a box of Legos. I'm trying to, get an analogy going that's a little bit simpler to understand for everybody, but basically it's the esports as a whole has to grow in order to find prospect for further teams.
Yeah. It's a good point. And actually you opened the point that stuck with me is you can't just start somewhere in the middle, right? There needs to be a bigger system, a bigger story. It's what I always say, it's not just this one event, not just this one day today, it's something before that and something after that, every let's say venture, in case you are building a team, right, Joker, right, needs to have some strategy, needs to have some long-term vision. This is what also motivates the people to stay in and stick through failures and achievements, right? Because you have some goal, right? If you just happen to log in every day for a couple of hours, then you will also happen quite quickly to not log in one day, right? That's the idea, right? And this is bringing me to the last question, right? You said, okay, National League, we have some of that stuff. I mean, self-organized, right?
Disregard that.
Yeah, but okay, but we have some leagues, okay?
We have something, yeah.
Yeah, we have something, right? And we have some teams. We would need to put a proper structure into that. Okay, now and then we could start talking serious stuff, right? Put them together, make them train for a year, make them compete regionally, then maybe we can get something. But then you end up your point with, maybe there is no 5 people in the whole region. This then destroys the first argument, then there is no potential, right? But maybe, so now my question is, either is that, and there is no potential, and we just, whatever, we stop it, we kill it. Or the other question is, okay, if this needs to be done, why hasn't it been done before? How come that we haven't yet done this? Maybe in this point, I would ask Gregor, maybe from experience, if attempts at building this have already been done before, or let's say there were waves, right? Waves of generations that tried, grew up and failed, or maybe failed and then grew up. I don't know which order, right? Gregor, what do you think here?
It's rough.
It's rough. I mean, the question is why this hasn't been done before, right? What's the most difficult part that this hasn't been done?
So, I mean, look, there again, I'm talking as a veteran here, right? We're comparing now different times, right? Back in the days, like esports was not even professional back in the day, right? Now you have economy behind it. Now you have big prizes. You had some tournaments back then as well, right? But at the start, when I started, when first lands were here in Slovenia, it was just for fun, basically, right? And it started building from that, right? And here, I think, like at the beginning, like nobody really understands this, and this is something that I wanted to add to the points earlier, right? Becoming an esports professional, it's probably one of the hardest things to go after, right? Like if you imagine you want to be a soccer player, you go to practice every day for 2 hours, that's it, right? You want to be a professional esports player, you have to put in 12 hours a day, every single day. That's at least something what your other like peers are doing, right? And here's the first problem. Like what you have here is you have young people who want to play, but parents won't allow their young children to play for 12 hours. And that was my problem as well back in the day, right? So you need to maybe establish some sort of a system, like you said, like government would help here, like even the whole perception of everything would help, right?
If I can add on that, the system, it's not necessarily needing to be a government-based system.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really agree with the government, but it's a way to get a bigger exposure to esports. But here I agree with eGze, is basically we need something that is consistently available to those that are already in the scene, to those that are coming to be introduced to the scene, and those that are still wanting to stay relevant or wanting to be in the scene. And that means, for example, if we look at the current situation of esports in Slovenia, as eGze said, they began LANs for fun. There were LANs for fun at the start. And what the problem with Slovenia is, it remained there. It remained for fun. Nobody continued playing. Nobody said to themselves, oh man, we could actually be competitive. We could actually create a scene, a league, a continuous league that will go on for half a year, and then we're going to have a playoffs on LAN. Nothing happened. We tried. I myself tried. Treachery tried as well. We were a part of a group called Connecting Slovenia, ConC. It wasn't specifically CS, but in terms of esports, we tried. We did our best. We got no support. Unfortunately, when you fund something out of your own pocket, eventually you got to stop because you still have to live off of something. And in the end, nobody tried because there's either too much division between those people that have the option to do something and that have the means to do something, or there's nobody serious enough to actually start doing it and start investing. Because this is now, there's one argument that cannot be argued, unfortunately, is the fact that this is an endless hole for investment. When it comes to esports, return on investment is not there. You get it back from investors. So people, when you get a league going, let's say you've got a league for 100,000 euros prize pool, that league is not sponsored by the organizer, it's sponsored by the sponsors themselves. Therefore, let's say major outlets like Nvidia, Intel, they pay 100 grand, 1,000 grand. That's how it works. No company makes a profit out of organizing, but they grow the scene. And when the scene is big enough, when you have 100,000 people in your tournament or in your stream, at 20,000 in your arena, that's gonna bring in money. That's how you create revenue. That's how they pay for all the things that are happening. And like I said already, LANs were made for fun in Slovenia. Nobody took the charge and started to build it in a higher scene. The people, as we already pointed out previously, the older generations, my parents included, they said like, are you stupid? Get the fuck off the PC. Are you wasting your life here? Well, I proved them wrong, but how many people didn't prove them wrong? How many people stopped playing? How many people are not playing? And that's a fact of life that you cannot change. And until we have a better understanding and a better esports basis in Slovenia, we can't create something that is worthwhile even mentioning on a regional scale, let alone global scale. And that's the argument that unfortunately you can't beat. It's a process that, look at DreamHack, look at England for Call of Duty, look at Germany for CS. Like, there's so many tournaments that started in 99, 2000, LANs, events, everything. And it's been going since then. It's only been growing because the people that started with that invested more and more, started to get more and more money in that. And the people that were just, for one point, playing for fun started like, oh, maybe I could play this more, maybe for semi-professional, professional, and got their friends in it. And that's how a general esports scene is built. Here, we still, right now, for comparison, the rest of Europe and the world is already in a skyscraper when it comes to esports. Right now, we are yet still putting the cement into the foundations. That's how far behind we are in Slovenia, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why actually this exact one meetup came to be, right?
Yeah.
We see countries that are quite similar to us, okay, Serbia, okay, and Croatia, right? And they are ahead of us. And the questions are, why? What can we learn from there? Okay, we are already now 15 minutes ahead of time, so we won't go exploring all that, but this is a really interesting conversation. But the question is, there is potential in the Balkans. Okay, Slovenia is smaller, but still there could come a couple of players out of it. And then we stated the reasons that we restated we are behind. Okay, that we knew, right? But we also explored some of the reasons why, right? We didn't have time to explore it with better how and what to do, right? What to do here. We explained what could be done, but this is like, change the culture of a nation. This is not what, this doesn't happen by itself. So the question is, what could do the people that want to do something? And I just now launched a pool that is spot on with what you were saying and telling the example with Trič that you connecting Slovenia back then, right? So have you ever tried to make Counter-Strike or any other game, right? More than just a hobby. So that's the question, right? And I see that we have a quite even distribution. Thanks for 22 votes. I will end the polling and share the results. Here we go. You have an even distribution. So a third of people, I think, though this is mostly the speakers and some more, I guess, is the ones who already did and tried, right? But there is also a third that is still prepared. So this means that we have here 15 people, right, that could do something. But heck, 15 people is a lot, a lot of brain power, a lot of workforce, even if it's on top of a daily job. The thing that's missing is some goals, some structure, some plan, right? So that said, I will do now a recap, okay? A recap, and then I will ask for your final thoughts because we're already over time. And I'm happy to continue these debates in further meetups. The point is for these meetups to be informal. It doesn't need to be always 3 front-up speakers. We said, let's start this to see how this goes. But we had a couple of speakers from the audience too. I see a very lively chat. I'm really happy about that, right?
Yeah.
We can keep this going in later meetups, but I also want to be conscious of time here, not to keep you here 2 or 3 hours, right? I will summarize a little bit from my point of view. So we stated about, okay, we started with the individualism, with the individual player level, right? The mentality, the need of persistence, right? The seriousness and the maturity of the players themselves, right? Then we also went about the culture of the whole Slovenian gaming and let's say around the gaming ecosystem, the stigma around it, right? Although I think if you show results, everybody quickly forgets about the stigma. If you show results, if you can tell that I heard many stories that the kid came home with 10 euros or 20 euros, and the parents changed from this to this, right? On the attitude, on the games, right? So it's about perspective, I guess. Then we were talking about teams. It's extremely hard. The next level is teams, right? CS is a team game, and many esports are team-based, most of them nearly, right? And it's extremely hard to work as a team. And as an individual, you can be really good, but then you need structure. You need coherence with your partners in the team, right? And you need to build that up in a sensible way with the story. Then we talked about that today there might not be enough people interested. Maybe the pool is just too small in Slovenia to create a team, right? And this might be a deal breaker. If this turns out to be the case, I don't think anyone will go now waiting 5 years to get the support of the government or to get the universities to play. If this happens in 1 year, maybe someone is prepared to go all in and do this in 1 year. But in 5 years, nobody is gonna wait 5 years because he can go to Serbia and get that today, right?
Yep.
Right. So we were talking about having, a system in place, a large-scale system, a league, including the universities, but there are many other games. So we could then have 10 leagues and the universities will only be playing games, right? So it's not a black and white solution. And you also said that the return of investment is not there on esports. Maybe, I mean, we've seen this year, even previous years, but this year, of course, due to the epidemic, an astronomical rise in investment in esports teams. So maybe there is not yet return of investment, but if there are big players, it will be. Exactly. It will be.
It already is. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean like, oh, they're not getting any money out of it. Obviously, they're making money because otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. It's more about many people expect esports to be something akin to, let's say, football, right? You've got Manchester United, you've got Manchester City, you've got Barcelona, and you're expecting, okay, if I pay 100,000 million euros into the team, I'm expecting results, and usually there are results. But many people disregard the fact that they've already got something to begin with. They've already got a baseline. They've already got somewhere to play from, whilst we are starting from nothing. And that's the same example for why Serbia, for example, just Serbia. Let's just look at Serbia. Why Serbia has such a better scene than us is because they've already got teams that are established internationally. They've already got teams that are established regionally. They've got talent.
Yeah, but they were not born. They were not born with those teams. Those teams.
They were not. They were not.
Right.
They've catered to it. People that are working in the Serbian esports scene are catering to the people. They're working in leagues. They're making sure that many people are involved. And like I said, it's not about, like, we are obviously smaller. That initially creates an issue for us, but that doesn't mean we can't have potential, that we can't have a growth and
the question
rise in the scene.
Exactly. And the question here is how, or let's say I will summarize. So you are dissing now Gregor for not setting this up in the 20 years of time that he was.
No, absolutely not. We tried it. Per se, maybe not with CS. We tried it. We failed because we just couldn't get the funding. It's about the fact that time-wise, we weren't prepared for it. Slovenia wasn't prepared for it in 2010. Heck, a lot of the world wasn't prepared for it. 2020 today, I can guarantee you that if we group up, as you said, 10 minds group up, we create a system, we build a 100-page document with the details for the tournaments, for the leagues, for all games, even for CS especially if needed, and we go to some sort of a company that wants to invest into esports. We're going to get that investment and we're going to start it like we need to. But getting those people, getting that done is the problem, because you have to have the right people again, and you have to know what the hell you're doing, and also an understanding that this does not take 2 months. This does not take 1 month. This takes half a year to just create a plan. And then it takes half a year to start building it from somewhere. And then maybe a year later, so 2 years down the line, you get something going. That's how it works. You can't skip steps, right?
Exactly. I agree. Thanks. I will regard this as your summary. I think it was nicely put up. Yeah. So I would then invite to summarize a bit. So the question is what to do next. Okay. What to do next? So, I mean, very brief question as a summary, right? Domen, Joker, what would you say? What would be the next steps? What should be our next discussion? Or what could we get going?
Maybe to put together some league. I mean, we need some league in Slovenia. Like next month,
Can I say
there's
something?
gonna
Sorry.
be
Hi. My name is. They call me Gucci. Like we can start esports on schools. Like we have almost every year. We have tournaments in games. Like last year we had a CS:GO tournament in our school in Koper. There's an IT school, Računalnikar. And I think we can start from there. Then if we get schools involved, we can also go bigger and bigger on the world stage.
Okay, thanks. We have good connections in Koper. We are from that part, and we could get also quickly spread out to other schools. Thanks. Yeah, please continue, Joker. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to make some tournaments where there will be a larger prize pool, so people will go there and play like for real, and not. But yeah, okay.
I mean, think about this. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just think about the larger prize pool. If we say 5,000 euros, is that going to be enough?
Yeah, that's going to be enough for Slovenia.
Or 2,500 euros, let's say, to first place, 2,500 euros.
Yeah.
Is that going to be enough?
I think yes, for first time. For first time, yes.
But will you get 32 teams to play? And out of those 32 teams, will 10 teams prepare for it?
No, of course not, because we don't have that many players. But there's gonna be there's gonna be like 5 teams like who wants to win, and then you can see who actually is good and who's not. Because at the LAN parties you can't see who. I mean, you go there, they get drunk, and they have fun. You know.
I mean, it's a LAN party, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about LAN parties, like the hugest LAN parties in Slovenia. I mean, the LAN tournaments, not LAN parties.
We have to distinct here from tournaments to LAN events or LAN parties. I think that's the most important distinction we also have to make.
Okay. Sorry. Then tournaments. I'll say tournaments in Slovenia, like the biggest one. Probably the biggest one is Speed, I think.
Epicenter.
Yeah, Epicenter. Yeah.
It's the only one, not the biggest.
Yeah,
one.
it's the only one. Yeah,
No,
but
it's also
the Starfall. Yeah. And people don't. I don't know.
I think what you're trying to say is that we have to start somewhere and then move from there. Because you said before, it's like we are trying to build this up from foundations. So obviously the first 3 tries might not be perfect, and we're gonna have to learn from our mistakes. But we need to start somewhere to even be able to build up from it.
I will just say, I will let you, Gregor, speak in a second. I'll just say this to Živa and Joker as a retort. Keep in mind that if the foundation, remember the saying, if the foundations are corrupt or otherwise malignant, the whole building is going to fall apart. And unfortunately in Slovenia, that's the problem. The foundations got screwed up because the people that were investing the time and that had the quality to do something good. For example, I'm not going to say myself in context here because I don't want to self-incriminate. Look at Prodan, Flatfrog Prodan, right? You guys remember him? You guys remember the lands he did in both Ljubljana and Koper, I believe it was?
Oblast.
Off-Blast, thank you, Bori. Yes, Off-Blast, thank you. That LAN
was
the
that like 2
foundation
times.
that we needed. That LAN was the foundation that would have actually created something better. But instead, because he had to quit, unfortunately, due to reasons, we were left with one thing only. That's Speed C. And they haven't really gone anywhere besides just where they started off with. But I'm going to end there. Sorry, Gregor, please take it from there.
I would go like, let's let's just not say everything so dark and gloomy. There are of course solutions always, and I would go maybe more into Teo's direction. Like I wouldn't immediately think of like, yeah, we need bigger tournaments, we need bigger prizes, blah blah. You have to earn that, to be honest, right? You don't just get to play for 5K tournaments without having the teams and without having the players. So in order to earn this for ourselves, right? And it's like Theo said, right? We need exposure. Like just we need to think more of it like economically as well. Yeah, it's a CS game, it's sports, it's fun for the players, right? But looking at the solution, you need to think about it. What's going to bring in the money, and what's going to bring in the money in this case are people's eyes, right? You're going to need to have people watching this. You're going to need to have sponsors selling graphics cards and processors to younger generations, right? And in order to get that, we need to like, I don't know, maybe continue such discussions. Maybe we need to have more streamers. Maybe we need to have more influencers, like building the scene, building exposure, building the interest, right? And once we'll have that, you'll have a bit more teams probably. A few more players will pop out, right? And stuff like that. I think this is how we go about it, right? Like Slovenia, and I always like to, like, I'm really a big sports fan as well. And I always like to compare, I always like analogies from other sports as well, right? We need to earn, like, to get to, I don't know, Eurobasket. We need to earn to have a great tournament, right? We don't just say, oh yeah, if we'll have big tournament with big prizes, then people will come. Like, it's not going to work that way for us. We need to build talent and then sell that talent, right? We're not just going to say, oh yeah, like, talent will come to us. This is never the case with Slovenia. Slovenia is always self-made, right? And we need to think of it that way as well. I think, like, even in esports, it's the same thing. You're only going to have one Luka Doncic and one Željko Peter. You're not going to have 5 Nikos, right? You're going to have maybe one.
Okay, yeah. And thanks to all of you. I will end up here the discussion. I would just mention we haven't managed to touch today. We talked just about the players, right? I wanted to discuss also about the organizers. Do we have capable organizers? So should we train organizers? You know, do we have people that know how to develop a plan out of this? You know, do we have, Gregor, you just touched on it, influencers, casters, right? We have one here as a speaker, right? Is there room for more? Is there room for global growth? Do we just target using the influencers to get more players? Is that even a goal? I mean, why should it, right? There are other things. There, I see even in the audience, there are people who are starting companies out of some of the games, like technology companies, platforms. You know, there is a lot of other potential too, but it's okay. Today we cover the players, and it was also the essence of it. You know, when you start a game, you start about the players. And in the future, we talk about the talent that's needed to build the ecosystem, then to develop these things that we were talking today, right?
And just add, I'll be quick about it. Just one thing I'll add here is it's about growing the whole scene, and when you grow esports as a whole, you will get everything alongside it. And as you said, organizers, we have very capable organizers. I personally know a few treaches amongst them, for example, for me personally, and there's a few more friends that, you know, I would definitely want to be a part of a project I'm working on if it comes down to it, because I know they are the ones to listen to talk to, and to converse to about ideas, for example. But that's just me, right? How many others there are still out there? I don't know. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to suggestions. And like you said, organizers, that's everything.
Exactly. Thank you for wrapping this up. Yeah, I think first we must have a case. That's why we're discussing it today. A good case to present to people that it makes sense to do something, right? And then if the case is good, we can get the people with good willpower, with good passion to build this thing together. Okay, so
I wanted to add one more thing to the organizers and to the tournaments and LAN parties, or however you want to call them, right? I don't think, like, this is, again, me, veterans, saying like how it was back in the old days, right? So you're probably tired of me already, but like, why don't organize a tournament and just have like a entry fee that's like gonna be big enough that also the prize pool is going to be big enough. This is how it was done back then. Like, you had to pay 50 euros. I'm making a picture to play, right? And like, yeah, the winner took it all, or like the big chunk of it. But like you, this is how you're gonna build the scene, right? Of course.
Because we're too cheap. People don't want to pay.
I mean, I think you could make it like you put an amount that's like payable for most people, and then you just had the other half yourself. I don't think you can ever have a tournament funded only by the players. I think you always need to put something in yourself. If you organize online tournaments right now, I think that's much easier to do because you don't have to pay for any other cost apart from just organizing the tournament, and that like doesn't really cost much if it's online. So I feel like you could easily do that. And on top of that, if you also like make it that like people outside of Slovenia can also join the tournaments, like obviously not a lot, you like limit it to maybe 2 or 4 foreign teams. I think that might also help if you know there's not enough attendance from like Slovenian teams.
Yeah.
Thanks for suggestion.
Just wanted to say, like as Over said, like if we're in a shithole at the moment, we can't expect having tournaments with big prizes just because, right? We're gonna have to dig in the dirt and do this ourselves.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we have to do the dirty work. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, the only thing is that the only thing I don't agree. No, let's leave it for next time. Let's leave it for next time. Many things have been built and many things are existing. I just think we need to tie them up together, not reinvent the wheel once again. You know, many things have been tried and many things are already out there. Just connect them well together. We can discuss these things next time. We are already half an hour above time, but I'm really happy. The discussions were really cool. I mean, we can continue informally. I will just officially close. Okay, so thanks to all the speakers, Gregor, Teo, Domen, thanks to also all the public who chimed in and with the comments and in the chat for the future. So in January, the idea is to reconvene once a month, okay, and keep this going, keep the group of people invested into doing something here on the CSGO scene, on the CS in general scene in Slovenia, and see if we get momentum, if we get something going, then this can become a thing, right? And for that reason, I've linked in, if you scroll just a little bit up, okay, I will relink again, the Meetup group, okay, and the Slack channel. So the Slack channel is meant to chat on these topics further on. The Meetup group is to be informed about the next events, probably towards the end of January will happen, okay? Apart from this, next week, so today, 1 week, we are also organizing the first esports and gaming meetup, where we'll be talking about not just CSGO, but about the whole esports and gaming scene in Slovenia. And that is meant even, I would say, even a level more into the organizational part, more into the organization, right? The point is for those who want to deal with this industry or with these organizations or teams, want to build this kind of stuff, come there. We will be discussing about all the aspects of it, right? And the COVID impact and how we can seize these opportunities. And very much what we discussed today is part of that story too. Just apply to a specific game, right? That's it. And the last point here is some tournaments. You've been quite critical here about existing tournaments, but I still think if there were no tournaments, this means that the game would be dead, right? So still something is keeping the game alive, and there are guys out there making an effort to keep the ball rolling, right? And we have P-Byte Christmas tournament. One is happening in 2 days, one towards the end of the year. Then we have the Esports Federation of Slovenia, who have the National League, speaking of which, right? Let's see how this will roll out, right? The National League qualifications, I think in a week time or something like that. And we have the Game Gang Christmas tournament also coming up in, I think in 2 weeks or something like that. So there is some activity. December is quite interesting for CSGO players, right? Maybe some of you, if you will follow this, take a part in this, and maybe we discuss about that stuff at the next meetup, and we see what could be improved, or this is the way to go or not, right? That's it from my end. Thanks everyone. The last link I'm gonna give here in the chat. I would kindly ask you for your feedback. So feedback above. So anything you didn't manage to ask today, anything that you feel could be improved on the format, on the conversations, of course, the time frame, that's my bad. As a moderator, I should have stopped over from talking over time. Yeah. Right. No, but yeah.
It's my job, man.
It's your job. Yeah, it's your job. A professional deficiency, let's call it. Yeah. No, but thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the feedback and for suggestions for the future. how to keep these meetings interesting. Okay, it's as simple as that. If they won't be interesting, we won't organize them. It's as simple as this, right? But if we get the ball rolling here, I think something good can come out of it. That said, thanks everyone. I will stop recording in right